Hey everybody, it's Nemesis Bloodike here, the Lord of Shadows, and I'm returning to rank my top 12 and bottom 12. I'm returning to rank my RWBY Volume 2 episodes. Apologies if you hear anything in the background, there is a washing machine right next to his room. Volume 2 is in many ways a superior volume to the first, and has a lot less bad episodes. So let's get to ranking them. Number 12. Volume 2 is quite hard for me. Most episodes are decent, and I like basically all of them. But this isn't one of them. Breach is... it's Breach. Breach is an episode, and it's sadly the finale. It's because of that status as a finale, a lot of people don't like it, and I don't like it for that either. Because it's a finale that doesn't really deliver or satisfy. It has a lot of cool stuff, but it's not exactly fulfilling. The episode is basically the epitome of Rule of Cool, but at least it's the episode I actually don't really like in this volume. And considering it's not that bad an episode overall, and it would be fine if it was, say, the second last episode, that says a lot about Volume 2. That's all I really have to say. Number 11. It feels weird putting extracurricular here. A lot of people like it. I like it. I mean, a lot of these episodes around this area of 11 to around 5 or 4 are around the same level for me, and I just put them in any order really. And you know, there were very small things that separated them. In this case, it's just because I forgot about the episode. It really doesn't have much to it. I mean, yeah, Pyrrha beats up Team Cardinal, and yeah, Pyrrha use of her semblance is explained, and yeah, there's more John and Pyrrha training, so it's really a Pyrrha-centric episode. But there's just nothing here, and that's about it. Number 10. What a disappointing return of Peter Port. A minor hiccup is not a bad episode. There's a lot that can be liked here, and I did enjoy it. But the episode is brought down really by the ending. We're supposed to be all shocked at how strong Penny is, but... really? I mean, Yang held up a giant Evermore's mouth, and Nora smacked an entire breach to pieces. That's not even going into Nora knocking Yang so far she went flying into the air for a full minute, or Yang doing all these crazy punches all the time. It gets even worse after this point in the series. And it gets even worse at this point still, because the most impressive string feat at the point of this episode's release was done by Penny, who brought down a bullhead. The only good thing in the ending is setting up to explain the reveal that everyone guessed. But still, really? Number 9. With a name as daft as Dance Dance Infiltration, what was I expecting? This episode exists. It's only really important in the last few minutes with Cinder, and it's really nothing else, but it does have that amazing dance number. You know, this episode perfectly represents RWBY as a whole. There's a big-ass, big-lipped alligator moment, there's barely anything happening, it's silly as fuck, and only one important event was put into a 15-minute episode. Done! They should just call this a preview to Volume 5. Number 8. Field Trip is an episode. It sets things up. It has a lot of humor. The characterization is pretty good. I can remember when I liked Ozpin, and I really liked this ending. That's basically all I can say, there's really not much else to this. Number 7. Welcome to Beacon calls countless RWBY parodies involving Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm proud to be the first one to edit and upload the least inspired of them. Welcome to Beacon is good, and that's it. I seriously wish I could type more for these, but the majority of Volume 2 is just a lot of good episodes. There's nothing outstanding and there's nothing horrible. This episode has the distinction of leading to the Kids vs. White Fang thing that the show seems to know is stupid and revels in that stupidity, and the introduction of Ironwood, and those two things do bump it up, but that's about it. Number 6. The camera episode, where they go full Scott Pilgrim and have the camera become a 7th dan black belt and self-propelled pinball. Search and Destroy is funny, it has good action, has some great moments, and one of my favorite scenes in the series, which is Oobleck and RWBY having a little talk. Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. You know, the series isn't as good as everyone remembers it to be. But I just like this scene. It's more quiet than we're used to from RWBY, and it expands on the lore when it's about Grimm, and how he states that some Grimm do have intelligence, which I think was a good way to expand the lore without just dumping a heaping handful of exposition into a scene, or just having a side video explain everything like a fucking source book. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this. Number 5. Initially, I had no idea why I put this number 5 in my unmade video last year, of which I only got to number 5 in my ranking. Mostly because I thought Burning of the Candle wasn't any better than the others. But I do remember now, and yes, I do think it should be here. It's the exposition scene. You know the one. The one about Yang's backstory, RWBY's backstory, Yang's motivations, the first direct mentioning of Crone Branwen, and yada yada yada. This is a good episode, and that is what elevates it for me. Everything else kind of fits with the good but not great section. And yeah, not much else happens, the rest is air, and it's just air. It's just that exposition scene. Number 4. Another first episode in the number 4 spot. Best day ever is what I want RWBY to turn into at the very least after this volume. It's got a little ominousness and a will to kill. It shows little details of the RWBY world without outright explaining or ignoring it. There's some comedy, some hijinks, and a crazy way over the top fight that embraces the stupidity of what we're seeing. This is a group of 7 17-year-olds and a 15-year-old who regularly go out to fight the scourge of the planet, battling out with random food items that weren't there previously as weapons to smack each other around a big-ass cafeteria, all because of a mistimed pie face. And the fight knows this. Things like Weiss's condiment kin recreation and RWBY surfboarding on a table with a carry tray are what I want to see more of in RWBY. I don't care if it's an abrupt tone shift. If serious RWBY is shit, then I'd rather RWBY become parody of itself and magical girl anime. Of course, the fight ends with the most intense asp I've ever seen, short of an average fairy tale Urza battle, and I'm not a fan of this never before seen or used again attack from RWBY that makes her seem more powerful than the rest of her team and the entirety of the other team. You know, instead of having every other Juniper member, or mainly Nora and Pyrrha, get beaten as well, soundly, over time. Sure, just end it with this big attack for a huge stand-up, but it kind of seems a little pathetic of RWBY and Juniper. Still, this episode's pretty great. Number 3. The episode where Yang makes back love with the roof of a train, Weiss makes like a tree, and Roman go down boom. No break, so nearly made my number 2 spot. This episode has it all. Good action, good writing, plot. Not to mention still having the time to set things up and leave on a cliffhanger. Yeah, take notes, Volume 5. This episode did everything you failed to do and more. Neo and Yang is one of the most shocking scenes at this point and one of the best fights in the whole series. Roman and Blake is conversely one of the worst showings and most ridiculous fights, but it's such a brutal curb stomp that it's hilarious. Weiss and the White Fang Lieutenant is one of the few battles, I think maybe the only one, in which a nameless grunt kicks the shit out of a regular character in a fair battle. Of course, we know the White Fang Lieutenant isn't a grunt, but he's still nameless. I actually want to know more about this guy. He beat the shit out of Weiss, seems very loyal to Adam, and I just have a strange liking to this relatively nothing character. And that's not even going into Oobleck here. He is just fantastic. He has his comedic moments referencing Red vs. Blue for some reason, and his outstanding moments of being an unparalleled badass that I want to see more of. He's basically RWBY after a few years of learning to be even more badass. This all ends with a big explosion and a nice little send-off into whatever Breach was. Number 2. This is a weird episode to put so high for me, but I'm content with its placement. I really like the quiet talking in Mountain Glen. It's a rare moment in which RWBY puts away its boner for the rule of cool and its incessant love for Bathos to just have a quiet character moment, which is just calming. It's just a really nice episode. I mean, what else is there to say? I know the last few have had more explanation, but this one kind of speaks for itself. You'll either like having a moment that isn't screaming into your ears, or hate that and hate this episode. I mean, I even like Ironwood's scene at the start, and I accept the scene at the end. But Oobleck is still great. Number 1. Another bloody obvious choice, eh? This episode is here for all the reasons Players and Pieces made in number 1 spot. Painting the Town has good action, great music, fucking amazing visuals and scenes, and is just generally a good episode. This episode does for the Elysian Paladin what most of the series fails to do with all but, a handful of Grimm. Show the effort and power that goes into taking out just one of these things. It makes it a threat. I mean, that makes Oobleck's dispatching them so easily kind of a big deal too. This episode's main defining attribute really is that big ass fight. And it shows just how shallow I am with the volumes that don't take themselves seriously. While I don't want to fight like this every episode, as I'll just push the status quo too high up for the series' average chapters, this sort of thing where we just get a crazy fight scene with explosions and lasers and shattering chunks of land everywhere, that's what I want more of, really. Just crazy over-the-top fights. Not quite at the point of this, but still entertaining. All we have now are limp-ass whacks, no choreography, bland and boring visuals, and rarely a decent fight. This episode really has almost everything I could ask for. It starts with a visualist exposition bit from Penny that luckily doesn't overstay its welcome, has some good humor, continues characterizing Roman and the protagonist, and even has Sun and Neptune trying to fight. It sets up Yang and Neo's confrontation in 7 episodes' time as a comedic little ending that does lean a little on Bathos, but at least the cutaway gag has a setup that makes it work. Seth MacFarlane. I have to actively search for flaws to find with this one. This episode is one of the high points of the series for me, and my favorite episode of Volume 2. But tell me what you think. I personally think Volume 2 is a huge step up from Volume 1. And while a lot of the episodes are just good, I prefer consistent decency over inconsistent schizophrenic jumping around the scale. But we're going into Volume 3 next time, and I can't wait to play with that can of worms. So that's all for me. Now, I'm Bloodrack. I'm signing off once again. Oh boy.